Welcome to the day 7 of 7-day Figma design course, and today we are covering prototyping inside Figma. Now let's start. I will go to this file here, prototyping inside Figma, and here we have a design. I have already added the prototype, and to play the prototype of anything, you can select the screen and press shift space to play the prototype inside inline preview. Like we call this thing inline preview. And if you are not able to see a device like this, what you can do is you can go to the prototype panel and click on this option, show prototyping settings. And from here you can choose the device, like say Android large. You can change it to desktop if you are viewing a desktop design. Like here we have the MacBook Air, so this is a desktop version. So depending on what screen size you design, you can pick the prototyping frame. Okay, and here we have other property like gray frame or silver frame. Okay, so you can change that thing from here. Okay, so now if I show you this design, like if I select it and if I scroll it, you can see that when I scroll, the section sticks on the top part. As soon as it reaches the top, it sticks there. And when another sections come up, like this is a section header, it overlaps the existing section and it sticks there. Okay, so we will create this thing, and the bottom part is also fixed. Okay, so if I select the non-prototype screen, if I select this thing, and now if I scroll, you can see that these elements are not fixed. Like this is just a simple plain page. And yeah, you can find the link for this file in the description, so you can follow along with me. Okay, so now to fix anything in the screen, what you need to do is you need to select that element. Like say we have the action bar here, you need to go to the prototype panel. You can press shift E to switch between prototype and design panel. Okay, so I will go to the prototype panel, and you see this option here. Make sure that you have selected the correct layer. Like this is the action bar, and you need to choose this position. Scroll with parent, you need to select this one, fixed, and stay in position. Okay, so now when I will scroll my screen, the element will stick on the same part, on the topmost part. And if you just look at the layers panel, now we have a new section like the fixed and the scroll. So it's showing that this element will be fixed on the top. Okay, similar thing we can do with the action bar here. Like we have the action bar here, the nav bar here. Now if I selected the fixed position, you can see that the element is fixed, but it's not visible here. You can see that the element is not visible here. Okay, even if I scroll down to the bottom, it's not visible. That's because the constraints are not set it properly. Okay, so I will go to design panel again, and you see this option here. I will set the constraints to bottom because we want the element to be fixed in the bottom part of the screen. Okay, so I will select the bottom. Okay, and we will also choose the center part. Okay, so we have the bottom and center part here. Now if you just scroll, let me play the prototype again. Now you can see that a nav bar is fixed in the bottom, and for some reason if it's still not visible in your design, like it's still not fixed in the bottom part, what you need to do is you need to go to the prototype panel and set the, select the element and set the position again. Like first of all select the scroll and then select the fixed position again, so it will work that way. Okay, we will do the same thing with the fab. Here we have, I will go to the design panel, I will choose the bottom constraint. You can see that it's not visible, so I will go to the prototype panel and choose this fixed and stay in position. Okay, so now this is the fixed position we have. We have another option here which is called sticky. So now what sticky will do is, let me unselect the action bar first. Let's say scroll, you see the section header here. We have the section header. So now if I select it, let's say sticky and stay at top of design. Okay, so if you just look at in the layers panel, nothing has changed. Like it's still in the scrollable position or the scrollable section. Now if I scroll, you can see that that section is sticked on the top. Like when it reaches the top of the screen, it will stay there. So this is what called the sticky position. You see, this is similar to what we have in development. If you know the basics of HTML, CSS, you are familiar with this concept. Okay, now what we want to do is we want this section to overlap over this section. Like when it reaches the top, it should be the one that sticks on the top, and this should be hidden. Okay, so for that what I will do is, let me move it on the bottom part. I will select this section name. You can see that we have the section name monitors and we have the section name. So I will select the monitors here, and I will do the same thing, and I will choose the stick on position. And for this thing to work, let's say first of all if I move it in the bottom part, and like if I scroll, you can see that it's still not fixed there. Like it's fixed there, but it's not visible. Like if I remove the fill color here, let's hide the fill color. Now if I scroll, you can see that it's still fixed on the top part, but it's not visible. That's because we have moved that thing in the bottom in layers panel. Like here we have the monitor section and it's below the shoes section. So I will move this thing in the top. I will do the same thing here, but the monitor part should be on the top. Okay, so that it's above all other elements we have. Like here we have the banner, and then here we have the item list. Here we have another item list. So now if I scroll, you can see that currently the shoe section is fixed. As soon as the new section appears, it's fixed in the top. But what if I want to create something like this? Okay, like this is the action bar, and it's still not sticked on the top part. It has some margin from the top. Like if I try to do this same thing here, if I go to prototype panel, and if I set it the scroll position to fixed of the action bar, you can see that. Now if I scroll, you can see that the sticky position is not working, although the section is still sticked on the top. Like if I select the action bar and remove the fill, you can see that the section header will stick on the top, but it's not visible here. What we want to do is we want the section header to stop here as soon as it reaches this part. We want it to be stopped. Okay, so now let me show the fill color. So for that, what I will do is I will add some margin here. Okay, for that I will calculate the height. Like the height of the action bar is 56 pixels, so we will add a 56 pixel margin in the top part of this section header. Okay, so what I will do is I will right click and choose frame selection, and let's rename it section container dash shows. Let me copy the name because we will use the name again for monitor. And now I will select this thing, hold on Control or Command inside Mac, and I will just resize it. I will add 56 pixel and I will measure the size. It's 52. At 61, it's too much. And then to reduce it 1 pixel. Okay, so now it's fixed. Now I will do the same thing with this. Go to prototype panel, and in the section container, make sure that you are selecting the right layer. Like this was the section name. Originally we added that thing inside a frame, like section container. I will set the position to sticky and stay on top. Okay, so now when I will scroll it, it will stick there. Like we have added the 56 pixel margin in the top side. We will do the same thing with this part here. We have, I will go to this right click and choose frame selection. Let's rename it and paste the name monitor. Okay, let's hold on Control and resize and check the spacing. Okay, now go to prototype panel, choose the stickies and stay on top. Okay, now if I scroll, it should work fine. Okay, the position is not correct in the layers panel. I will move that thing to the top. Okay, now if I scroll, it's working perfectly fine. Okay, so these are the sticky and fixed position property we have inside prototype. Okay, now let's look at this option. Like here we have the overflow. Now if you just look at this banner, wait a minute, you can actually swipe left and right inside this banner. So now how you can achieve this? You can achieve this thing with the help of overflow option here. So here we have 3 banners. Here you can see that here we have 3 images. First of all, we will add the thing inside our auto layout. Okay, let's rename it to banners. Wait a minute. Okay, and set the direction to horizontal, and I will reduce the size and make sure that it's aligned on the left side and the gapping is 0. You can increase the gapping if you want according to requirements. Select it, hold on Control and then resize it and make sure that it's perfectly fitted. Okay, now I will choose the option called clip content. Go to prototype panel and you can choose the option like horizontal scroll. Like it will scroll all the elements which are available in horizontal axis. Okay, so horizontal scroll. Now if I select it, you can see that it will work. Okay, you can do the same thing in vertical direction. Let's say if I change it from vertical to horizontal, and now if I select clip content, wait a minute, it should be on the top. And now if I resize it, and you can see that it's not scrolling because the scroll direction is horizontal and it's showing an error. Like we don't have any overflowing element in the horizontal axis. Okay, so I will change it from horizontal to vertical. Now it will scroll vertically. Okay, but we don't want that. We want to scroll it horizontally, so we will undo everything. Okay, now it's working perfectly fine. So you can just copy this thing and select and right click and choose paste to replace, or you can use the shortcut like Control Shift R, paste to replace. Okay, so here we have the banner ready. Now let's look at the navigation prototyping. What if I want to, if I select this thing and now when I click on the cart button, I should go to cart button, and when I click on the notification button, I should go to the notification page we have. Okay, so now for that I will select the nav bar, go to the prototype, and if I select it, like double click and select the cart button, we have make sure that you have selected the correct layer, and you see this plus option here. Like if I just click and drag it, we will have a prototype handle. We call this thing the prototype handle or prototype lines, so whatever you want to call this thing. Okay, now if I will drag this thing to this page, like the cart page we have, so you can see that we have some properties here like on tap. So when you will click on this particular tab or this particular element, it will navigate to, like we have other options here like navigate, change to, back, set variable. We will cover all these things in just a minute. Okay, so it will navigate to the page cart. Okay, and the animation type will be instant. I will cover all other animations in just a minute. Okay, so for now just select the instant property. Okay, and we have other options like here like reset scroll position. Just skip all this thing for now. Okay, now if I just select this screen, now if I click on any empty area, it will show me like where you have added the prototype. So if I click on cart button, it will navigate me to the cart button or the cart page we have. Now I want to do the same thing for all the elements, but if I selected individual element one by one and added the prototyping manually, it will take hours. So what I need to do is can use the feature called multi-edit. For that I will select the home layer, like so the home option we have. I will press Ctrl Alt A or Command Option A if you are on Mac. You can see that it has selected all the similar layers we have. Like if I selected it, it has selected all the similar layer we have. Like here we have the home option, it has selected all the options. Okay, so now I will select this handle. You can see that I have created multiple prototyping handle, and I will drop that thing to the home page. I will do the same thing. Let's close it. Do the same thing for cart option. Press Ctrl Alt A and simply click and drag to cart. Let me close it. Ctrl Alt A and drag it to notification and choose profile. Ctrl Alt A. Okay. Now if I close it, now if I selected it, and you can see that here we have the option called flow. Now this is actually the starting point of your prototype. Like if I place this thing here, so now my prototype will start from here. Let's say if I just click on the play button, my prototype will start from the notification, but we want it to start from the home, so I will place this thing on the home. Okay, so now if I play it, it will start from home. Now if I just click anywhere, you can see that we have multiple options available. Like I can click on cart, I can click on profile, notification, and I will be easily navigated. Okay, so this was navigation. Now let's look at the second property we have, which is like if I show you that we have navigation, we have change to. Now change to option will work only if you have added the. Now change to option is for the components we have. Like if I selected this card, let's look at this. Like this is the card, and if I go to the main component, okay, so we have the main component here. And what if I want to create a hover state for this thing? Like if I want the image to zoom in when I hover over the image, okay, or hover over the card. So what I will do is I will select the main component and I will create a variant, and I have already covered all the properties of components in the component video, so you can go and watch. That link is in the description. So I will create a variant and I will name that thing hover and I hit enter. I will create another variant. Simply click on plus and let's say pressed or active state. Okay, so now what I will do is let's rename it as default and rename the property. It's called state. Okay, I will go to prototype panel, I will select it and click on this interaction plus, and on tap, and we don't want to tap, we want to hover while hovering, and we have other options here like on drag, like when you will drag something. I will show you this option in just a minute. We have on while pressing, while hovering, keypad, like you can add interaction on particular key you press. Okay, so we will choose like while hovering and we will choose the interaction to change to. So it will change the state, like from default state we want it to change to hover state. Okay, and the animation will be smart animate because we don't want the animation to be instant. Like first I show you instant. Let's change the properties in the hover state. Like this is the image, we want the image to be zoomed in, so I will hold on Alt and shift. Okay, now if I select this prototype and make sure that these all are instances, you can see that like here we have the card instance. Okay, I select it, hold down shift space. Now when I zoom it, you can see that the image is zoomed in, but we want it to be smooth. So for that, what we will do is we will use the smart animate option we have. Select the first one. You can see that here we have the handle and it's showing you like what kind of prototype you have added. We have added a hovering. So I will click on the handle and change it from smart animate, like instant, to smart animate. Okay, and we have the other animation option, like how you want your animation to be smooth. Like we have the linear option, easing in and out, ease out, back out. So we will choose this option, ease in and out. You can explore other options, like these are just curves we have. Like you can use the custom sprint, like here we have the curve. You can adjust the position. Like these are some advanced techniques. You will understand all this property with experience. But for now, just pick this, any one of them. Okay, like ease in and out. Okay, so now when I hover over it, it will be smooth. And you can also change the duration. Like if I select it, here we have the duration. Like if I set it to 2 seconds, which is 2000 millisecond. Okay, like 1 second, 1000 millisecond. So like when I will hover over it, it will take 2 seconds to complete the animation. We want it to 300 or like 300 or 400. It's the natural animation you should always use, because anything below that will feel very fast or anything above that will feel very slow. Okay, So now our animation is working. Now what if I want to, like when I want to change the scale, like it should zoom out like the whole card when I just press over it. Okay, so what I will do is I will select the pressed state, go to design and press K to scale it, and I will type 0.95 like in the percentage, so it will scale down to 0.95%. okay, now if I selected this screen and like when I will press over it, wait a minute, we have not added the prototype. Yeah, so I will select the hover state and add an interaction, and you also need to add the interaction, same interaction to the default state, because in mobile we don't have the hover state, so you will not be able to change from this state to this state. In phone you will be required to go directly from default state to the pressed state. Okay, I will select this thing, add a handle, and from on tap I will choose the state to pressed. Okay, everything is set it up. So now when I will press over it, it's scaling down. Okay, wait a minute, like it's on tap, it should be on while pressing. Let me restart the prototype. Wait a minute, like when I press over this thing, it scales down and it's back in its original form. Okay, I will add the same thing for the default state, handle, and choose on tap while pressing. For the mobile, like I'm previewing this thing on the desktop, so the hover state is available, but in mobile there is no hover state because we don't have mouse. But there is a problem in this. If you just notice, like when I press this thing, it's scaled down in the top left part. We don't want it, we want it scaled in the center part. Now to achieve that thing, you need to wrap this thing inside another frame. So if I just select it, let's say if I selected this thing, I right click and like frame selection, so it will be card container. Copy the name. Now I will go inside that and I will select the card, make sure that you have selected the correct layer, and I will set the constraints to center, like from both vertical and horizontal axis. Now if I simply press, you can see that it's scaling from the center and it's not disturbing the other layout. Like if I press this thing, it's disturbing the other layout. So to achieve this thing, you need to add all other elements to inside a frame. Okay, so just simply press it and Control Alt G, Control Alt G, Control Alt G. Okay, and you can change the constraints. Simply select the parent layer, hit enter again, and choose the center constraint. It's already set it up. Okay, now if I just press any of the card, it will scale in the center. Okay, and for some reason if it's not scaling in the center part, that means the constraints are not set it up properly. Okay, like this is here we have. Okay, let's select it. Here we have changed the constraints again. Okay, so it will scale in the center part and it will not disturb the layer. Okay, now let's look at other options we have. We have the option called overlays. Now what I want to do is when I click on this card, this overlay should open like on another screen. So what I can do is I can go to prototype, select this card, I simply select the card first and simply drag the handle here. Okay, and choose this option on tap, like navigate to, choose the option called open overlay. You can see that here you have the option open overlay. We have other option here like swap overlay or close overlay. And we have some options here, like we have instant or move in. You can add the move in animation. Like if I select move in, so now we do move in from the left to right or from right to left. Okay, like if I select on this thing, it will move it. Okay, and here we have other options, like we have the position. We can set the custom position, like if I select it from left, it will align in that left part or top part. And here we have other options like manually. You can adjust the position manually. Let's say if I want this to be here. Okay, so it will appear this here. Like if I just click on it, it will appear here from move it. Now select it, and we have other option here. Let's change it from move in to instant because it's disturbing it. And we have option like close while clicking on the outside. Like if you just click on the empty area, it will get closed. Okay, like if I click here, it will be closed. Okay, and we have other options here like add background. You can add background. You can change the opacity from here. Currently it's set to 40%. You can increase this thing, let's say 80%, 90%. You can see that the background properties are changed. Okay, now next thing what I want to do is I want this card to be changed. Like when I click on this arrow, it should be changed with the second card we have. Okay, so I will select this arrow and I will simply click and drag and choose this navigate to, wait a minute, it's not visible. Yeah, from navigate to swap overlay. Similarly with the second card, swap overlay, and I will do the same thing with the backward arrow, swap overlay. Okay, now if I select it and if I just click on the card, and I can change the card by just clicking on the arrow, and when it reaches the end, the button is disabled. so you can change it. Now what I want to do is I want this card to be closed. Like when I click on this plus or the cross button, it should be closed. Okay, for that what I will do is I will select this thing and I will press Ctrl Alt A to select all the similar elements we have, or you can select them one by one. Okay, and add an interaction like on tap, then like close overlay. Okay, so I will select this thing, and yeah, to add the interaction you can also drag this thing. Like if I just drag, we have two options like back and close overlay, so I will drag it to close overlay option. And here we have other options like select 4 matching interactions. Like if I just click on it, it will select all the elements with similar kind of interaction, like all the elements with which has close overlay interaction selected. So if I select it and if I click it, I can navigate and I can close the overlay by just clicking on this element. Okay, so it's working perfectly fine. Okay, next option we have is smart animate. Although I have already showed you how smart animate work, but first let me show you a interaction. Like we have these two options here, and if I select this thing and add an interaction, like on tap, I will change that thing to on drag. I will do the same thing here. I will change it to on drag. Okay, and I will choose the interaction called smart animate. Do the same thing here, select it, smart animate. Now if I just drag this thing, you can see that the interaction, like you can see the changes live, like how it's changing. And even if we change other properties, let's say if I change the border radius, if I just change the border radius, you will be able to see all the changes we have. You can also change the rotation. Let's say if I increase the rotation and increase the size, something like this. Okay, then you will be able to see the changes like this. Okay, so it's looking pretty good. And for this thing to work, the layer name should be same. Okay, let's say if I just deleted it and if I copied this thing, okay, let's say if I change it, yeah, now it will work because the layer name is same. And if I just change the layer name to something else like rectangle, and if I just add an interaction now, it will not work. Okay, like if I just added an interaction, it will not work. You can see that it's not animating smartly, it's just changing it instantly. So for the smart animate to work, the layer name should be same. So I will just add rectangle 1 and now it will work. Okay, so now it's working perfectly fine. And also if for the drag interaction to work, the position should be different. Let's say if I just copied this here. Okay, wait a minute, let me delete this, copy it here. The layer name is same, so let's say from drag here. Now it will not work actually properly because the position is not changing, so there is no area to drag. So for this option to work, the position should be different in both the frames for the drag option. Okay, so like if I drag it here, it will work. Okay, so you should always double check the layer name when you are doing smart animation, and when you are adding the drag interaction, you should always keep the position different in both the screens. Okay, now we will jump into advanced prototyping, in which we will use variables and conditions. Okay, now if I show you, let's say if I just selected this screen, and you can see that it's only one screen. Like if I just play it, now if I select on the gray, the shoe color will change. Okay, so in this we are using the variable and conditions option. If I show you this screen, let's see if I click on add to cart, then this option will appear, and if I just click on the plus button, it's changing. Okay, and you can see that we don't have multiple components, like we only have 2 states and the number is changing conditionally. Like you can see that we have attached a condition, like this is the condition symbol and this is a variable symbol. Okay, like if I just click on it, okay, you can see that. And if like when I click on minus, and as soon as I reach 0, and if I just press one more time, it will be changed to add to cart and the option will be disappeared. Okay, like added to cart and the option will be disappeared. Okay, so we'll create these two things. Like first of all, we will change the color. This is a very simple one, and then we will add some smart interactions. Okay, now to build this thing, we need to set up few things. First, let's say we have 2 images here. Okay, so what we will do is we will create 2 components. Let's say go here and choose create component set. Okay, then we will rename it, make sure that you have named it image. Okay, then we will select the first one, we will name it dark, or let's say dark blue. Okay, and that's select second one and name it gray. Okay, and select the component and change the property from property 1 to color. Okay, now we will go here and click on this create variable and choose this string. Okay, we will name this thing color, and in the value we will type, like the default value will be gray. Okay, great. So what we have done is we have created a variable, like this is the variable name, this is the variable value. Like now what we will do is we will select this component. Let's copy it. Okay, and I will cut it and select this image. Let's replace it by pressing Ctrl Shift R or Command Shift R. Do the same thing here. Okay, Now what we will do is we will select both the instances we have, and you see this option here. We just click here, like we have the assign variable, and choose the color. Then it will assign this drop down. Like we have in the drop down, we have two options, gray and dark blue. Okay, so we just click on it, then choose this gray value. Then it will assign the option, like the option from the drop down will be selected based upon this value. Let's say if I change it from dark, like gray to dark blue, then the image will be changed. So this is what we will do. So we will change the value by just clicking on these colors we have. Okay, so I will select the first one, like we have the color, go to prototype and choose interactions, like add interaction, then go to set variable, like choose this option. We will set the variable and search for the color variable you created, like simply search for color and you will see this option here. Okay, like it has selected the color variable. Now we will change the value from, like initially it's dark blue, you can see that here. We will change that thing to gray, gray or gray. Then simply click here in this option, okay, and make sure that you have added these two parentheses or anything what we call these thing, okay, otherwise it will not work, and then hit enter. So what it will do is, like on tap it will change the variable value from dark blue to gray. So if I just play the prototype, like select it, press shift space to play the prototype, it will change the color to gray. Actually I assigned the wrong color, so I will select it again, like click on this icon and change it from gray to dark blue. Okay, and then hit enter. Select this one and click on create interaction, go to this and set variable, select the collection or the variable, and then type gray and the parenthesis close, enter. Okay, so now when I click on the gray, it will change to gray, and when I click on dark blue, it will change to dark blue. Okay, so this was a very simple interaction. Now you can just copy both of these and simply delete them and paste them here. Okay, so it will work. Okay, you can see that. Now for the add to cart interaction, it's a little advanced, so before that I will show you a very basic one. Like what we want to do is, as soon as user clicks on this option, we want the button to change from disable state to enable state. Okay, before that let's set up some basic component. Like we have the checkbox here. What I will do is I will select both of them, and we have the selected state, or we have the default state and the selected state. So I will go here and click on create component set. Okay, and I will go to design, and for this thing, like I will select selected, like the property name will be selected, and in this it will be false, and in this it will be true. Okay, so this is the property, like it is selected true and it's selected not. Okay, so I will copy this thing. Let's copy the text, paste it here. Okay, let's delete this. Okay, now let's add an interaction. Like it's working fine, let's check it first. Like if I just change it, so it's working. Okay, so we need to add the interaction first. Let's go to prototype. When I click on this, it should change to selected, like on tap, smart animator. You can experiment with all the stuff and do the same thing with this. Okay, like on tap. So when you will click on this thing, let's play it. So when I click on this thing, it's changing. So what we want to do is we want to change the button state. Before that, let's set up the button. Like here we have default state, like this disable state, and this is the default state. So we'll select both of them and go to component, like create component set, and we will set to, and we will type the property name enabled. Okay, and in the disable state it's not enabled, so we will type false, and in this we will type true. Okay, so this is enabled true, this is enabled false. Okay, so we will copy this thing, let's replace it, change the button size. Okay, so now what we have to do is, as soon as user clicks on it, the state should change from disabled to enabled. Okay, for that we will create another variable. Go to local variable, make sure that you've deselected everything. Okay, like click on create variable. Now we will use the boolean variable. Okay, like in boolean we have two options, true and false. Okay, so like we will name this thing selected. Okay, and then the default value will be false. Let's close it. Let's assign the value to this thing, and you see this option here, simply click and choose the selected option, like selected. Okay, and now we will do the same thing with the button, select it, and we will assign the value here. Okay, now let's say if I just go to variable and changes this from true to false, like false to true, both of them will change. Okay, so we want to do the same thing with the prototype. Now select it, like we have already added the interaction like in the prototype. When you will click on this thing, it will change. That means when you will click on this option, like the variable value will change. So the state of button will also change because we have assigned the variable. Okay, like when I click on I agree to terms and conditions, the button state changes. Okay, so this was very simple. Now let's jump to a little advanced. Let's move them here. We have two options here. Okay, so I will create a component set, like select both of them, click on create component set. Okay, and I will create this thing to like added. Okay, like this is true. Like sorry, this will be false because we have not added it to cart yet. And make sure that you type the false word correctly, and then this it will be true. Okay, so we have a icon here, then we have the number here, then we have the plus button. Okay, so what we want to do is when I click on the add to cart button, it should change to plus. Okay, and as soon as I click on the add to cart button, this should be visible. So for that we will create another variable. I will go here, I will create another boolean value. Let's say boolean. I will create added to cart. Okay, by default it's false. I will go to design. I will copy this button. Let's cut it, select it and replace, like Control Shift R or Command Shift R. I will assign the value like added to cart. By default it's false. Okay, now if I just change the value from like added to cart false to true, so the button value will change. Okay, let me select both of them and set the width to fill because it will change. Now what we want to do is we want this layer to be hidden, and as soon as the user click on this button, this layer should be visible. So we will assign the same variable like the variable we assigned here to this opacity. Okay, so we will select the layer, and you see this option here like in the layers panel. If you just click on this plus show hide option, so the layer visibility is changing. So we will assign that thing to the variable. So simply right click on this show hide button, then choose add to cart. Okay, so by default it will be hidden, and as soon as you click on this button it will change. Oh, we have not added the interaction first. Let's go to prototype, and when I click on this thing, it will change to this add to cart button. Okay, so now when I click on the add to cart button, the layer will be visible. Okay, now what we want to do is we want the value to change. Like when I click on the plus button, the value should change. So what we will do is we will simply select it, and before that let's create a variable. Like for this thing, like we will create another variable called number. Like we will use numbers. So till now we have used the strings, we have used the booleans. Now we will use the number. Like we have the string boolean and then we have the number. Okay, this is the cart item. Wait a minute. And to name things, either you can use this camel case or you can add a dash. Okay, and use the lowercase sentence. It will work fine. But make sure that you name all your variables in the same way, otherwise it will create problem in a longer run if you are building a design system. Okay, so by default the value will be 1. Okay, now let's close it. Now I will assign that variable here, like simply select it and choose this option cart item. Okay, like here we have the variable simply cart item. Okay, so now if I change the value here, let's say if I type 10, the value will be updated. Okay, so this is how it will work. So we want to change the value when I click on this plus button. For that, what I will do is I will go to prototype panel and select the plus button. Click on this interaction, like on tap, we will set the variable. Like we will use the option again, set variable. Okay, like we will select the variable. Here we have the cart item. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to add one number as soon as user click on the plus button. So we will write our expression for like change it to, like this is that 2, it's showing that simply click on cart item. Then it's showing the possible values you can add, like the possible expressions you can have. So we will use the additive. Okay, simply add 1. Okay, so it will work fine. Then hit enter. Okay, so now if I just play the prototype again, and when I add to cart option, we will click on the plus button, the value will change. We want to assign the same thing here, like added to cart. This is the cart number. Okay, so what we will do is let's show the item again and select this option here, go to design and assign the same variable to that thing, like cart item. Now if I just press it, let's hide the layer first. Okay, play it. Now add to cart. Wait a minute, I think the variable has been detached because we changed the property manually. So we will choose the like added to cart again. Play it again, like add to cart. So as soon as I click on plus, the value changes. Okay, So we want to do the same thing for the -1. Okay, so I will select the minus button, go to prototype, click on interaction, set variable, and then choose the cart item. Like select the cart item again, and you'll choose the subtractive one. Hit 1. Okay. So now if I just play the variable, like if I just click on the minus button, the value will change. But there is a problem, like if I just keep pressing on it, it's going in negative. So we don't want this thing. We want the button to change as soon as it reaches 1. Like when I press the button, like after 1, if I just press minus button, it should change again to like add to cart option. Okay. So to achieve this thing, we will use something called condition. Like select the minus button again. Like if you just go here, like we have the option called set variable. We will choose conditional. Okay. Like we have the conditional here. So we will simply click here, choose the option like cart item. So the condition we want to add is if the cart item is greater than 1, let's say the cart item is 2, we want to subtract 1. But if the cart item is equals to 1, we want the state of button to be changed. Okay. So I will simply choose the greater than. Okay. Like if the cart item is greater than 1, okay, then hit enter. Then it will do a action. Like if the cart item is greater than 1, then it will do a action. Like set variable. Then choose the variable. It will -1. Okay. Like write expression to cart item -1. Okay, and if you are not able to understand this thing, just replay the video, you will understand. Okay, and if you still have any doubt, you can just ask me in the comments, I will reply. Okay, so we have set it up our first condition. Okay, so if the cart item is greater than 1, then it will subtract 1. But if the cart item is not greater than 1 or it's equal to 1, we want the variable to change, like the button variable to change. So we will click on the else, and we will change the like change to. Like from change to, we will change the button variable. Okay, like this is the added state. We wanted to change it to default state, like when we have not added. Okay, so now our condition is ready. Like if the cart item is greater than 1, then it will subtract 1. But if the cart item is smaller than or equal to 1, then it will change the state. Okay, so now it should work fine. So I will select it. Let's restart the prototype. Okay, now add to cart, the button is visible. If I just click on plus, it's adding, and then if I just click on minus, it's subtracting. And as soon as I reach 1, if I just press one more time, it will change the state. Okay, so now we have created a desired interaction. Now what I want you to do is I want you to go another level deeper. Like if I just copy this thing, and I wanted to create a item available. Okay, like item available, it's 10. So what I want you to do is I want you to change this number. Like it should subtract from this thing. Like as soon as I click on this plus button, the value from this thing should subtract. And as soon as this reaches 0, the plus button should be disabled. Okay, so you have to create a condition for that, and you will be required to do multiple nesting. And I wanted to do this thing on your own. Now let me give you just a hint. You need to create another variable. Go to the variable option and simply click on number and cart item available. And I missed to type the wrong, like cart team, it should be cart item. Okay, so like type the default value, like we have 10 items available, and select it and assign the value like cart item available. Okay, so now you have to write the expression for this condition to work, and make sure that you check all the edge cases. Like if the item reaches 0, the minus button or the plus button should be disabled. Okay, and as soon as I click on the add to cart button, it should subtract 1 from this thing. Okay, so go and experiment with this thing, and you will be able to write this expression if you just give it multiple trials. It will not happen in the first trial, but you need to try again and again to achieve this thing. And if you successfully prototype this thing, you will be a pro in conditional prototyping. Okay, and this was for this video, and this was the last video of this 7-day Figma design course. But I will be adding more videos about Figma so that you can use Figma effectively. And I will update the video as soon as Figma launches some new feature so that you can keep your skills up to date. Okay, so see you in future. Till then, bye.